Hey there, future me. It's currently a Thursday night, almost Friday morning, but we're not there just yet. So I guess we're a little bit earlier than we usually are, which is great, I suppose. It's been, I guess, a solid 3 weeks almost, if not actually right on the dot, since I've sat down to record audio for another video, and not too much has happened. I guess like major highlights would be I started biking to work. I went to go like spent the 4th of July just kind of by myself, but I went to this like city event to where like there was a little concert and then like a fireworks show, so that was pretty cool. Got to, I guess, like reminisce on all that and be like, ooh, look, fireworks. I remember, when I was a kid and we could watch like fireworks and stuff. Like, I guess I would, when like the apartment complex we grew up in was like pretty close to like the park where they launched the fireworks, so we could just sit like on the not the front lawn, but just like the grassy field in front of the apartment complex and watch the fireworks. And then later on, like we moved and it was still kind of nearby and we could still walk over there. But then like we eventually go to like a friend's place and I guess launch fireworks in like their backyard because like he lived like his family lived like in the middle of nowhere. So that was pretty cool. But I suppose like all that nostalgia and stuff can come a little bit later because I wanted to like call this video like fireworks and freedom or something. Be like, yes, I'm so glad to be here and look at all this like nostalgia and all this stuff. But I think I wouldn't be doing like current me justice because current me has just been floundering. Like this isn't fireworks and floundering or floundering and freedom. One of the words is definitely going to be floundering. I'll tell you that much because there's been a lot of floundering going on. So that was July 4th week, and I guess like this week, which is already like it's already Thursday, man. The week's already almost done. There was like there was a pretty nasty storm like on over the weekend or so. Knocked out power for like a lot of people, myself included. Also didn't have like internet. I guess I still don't have internet at my place. I'm not really sure what those guys are up to, but at least I have internet at work. So I'm currently actually in my office, like I came here in an attempt to do work, and I've been in here like the past 2 days, just like mooching off of the internet, playing video games, and like also doing a little bit of coding, which is good. But I feel like most of the past 3 weeks has just been a lot of floundering. That's probably the it's a bit of a silly word, but I have really been flopping like a bit of a fish. I maybe it's just some form of decision paralysis. This is actually like the second go about on recording audio because I think like the first batch which is I guess got up to the 13-minute mark. I feel like was just me stumbling and having a hard time like trying to grab my own words. And I suppose like even though I want the channel to be like something that's supposed to be like this like capturing the genuine image of me, I feel like it would be hard to watch. And I think given that I'm recording this like just after finishing that recording and taking a breather, I'm a little bit more calm or tamed. Maybe like my ideas are like slightly more gathered. So like it's slightly more processed, but like it's processed enough to where it's not like as it'll be as bad as the other videos, not worse. I hope. Yeah, maybe that's a good way to put it. But I don't know. The thought that's been popping up in my mind is just the idea of like, what do I want to become, right? Or like, what am I doing all of this for? I don't think I'm having like a crisis of faith or anything, right? Like reconsidering like what I want to do, but it's just more like, why did I want to do all of this to begin with? What was the initial vision, right? Like way back when in like the middle school days when I guess like if I go back to like the very beginning of it all, it was probably just like being taken to a lot of museums and reading a lot of those big picture books and watching those DVDs that talked about like the world and stuff. It all seemed really interesting, and I wanted to look more into it. And at the same time, I also happened to enjoy messing with numbers. It just seemed fun, and so I just kind of walked into it naturally, I suppose, because math just happened to be math being the language of like physics and all that. Like makes it pretty easy to, I guess, transition into studying physics and doing all this. So, I go to high school, take all these like STEM classes, do all of that, and then go to college, like major in like all this like astronomy and physics, take all these like courses and stuff. But it's all for what, I suppose. Like, what is the end goal? I guess like now it's okay, well, if I want to function in society, I need to have some level of income, and so in order to have an income, I need to do something which is valued by the world, and so I guess I can be an academic. That seems pretty fun because being an academic is still something which I seemingly enjoy. So like now I'm actually an academic, right? I'm in grad school, like I'm more so okay, I don't know if I can say that, but like I'm spending a lot I didn't take classes last semester and I've just been doing like a lot of research. So now like I'm actually doing like real work. And so I'm wondering if I'm having like one of those like we're gonna whip out some Chinese here. It's like some 叶公好龙type stuff. Like this is like a some Chinese like proverb, right? I guess it's like a story which then derives into like a proverb, but it's like about this guy who like supposedly like loves dragons, right? He's got all these like tapestries and stuff. He's like, man, these dragons are pretty cool. Want to like meet one someday. So like the dragons, hanging up in the clouds are like, yo, this guy's a pretty big fan. We should pop by and give him a visit. So they poke their heads in, and then this dude's like, oh shit, oh god, please don't hurt me, right? So like he goes like he gets scared and he hides, and the dragons are like, man, so you were just a poser after all, and they just fly away and leave. And I wonder if like I'm running into that idea of like the thing which I thought I would be doing isn't like what I actually and like am doing, which I suppose is well not a uncommon issue, probably like a common thing. I think a lot of the once again the academic influencer sphere, just like all the YouTuber guys talking about like why I left academia or like why I stopped doing my PhD. Just like they express similar sentiments of like at some point in time it stopped being fun and it just seemed like it was mandatory or it was just like they were doing it because they had to and not because they really wanted to at that point. They were doing it for like a dream or some like maybe like you're at this point like gather myself. Okay, so maybe at that point they were doing it not for them but for like a past version of their self, right? Like you're doing something at this point for past you. And I wonder as to how much I am doing this for past me. I think like I still really do enjoy like the stuff that I'm doing right now, like reading these papers about like what asymptotic series and all this like crazy manipulation stuff is pretty interesting, and learning about like all the numerical methods that we use to like approximate these like functions that technically like are super super long are pretty neat. It's just like it's nice to learn, but it's not fun to do, which does kind of make me wonder like maybe I just haven't spent enough time like doing or something, because I guess like I can't say, or I don't want to say that like maybe I just don't like doing, because like in undergrad like I learned a lot of stuff but I also spent a lot of time like doing things. But the thing is that the things that I did were like a little bit, they weren't as hard, and I guess they weren't as like self-led. I suppose a lot of the things that I did, which were homework problems, had like known answers, and so then afterwards you could just like inquire and do all that stuff. And I guess like even what the research that I did in undergrad, well, no, okay, maybe it'd be much to call it research, but maybe like the code monkey stuff that I did in undergrad for like my like undergrad advisor, I guess I call both of them prof. So like well, yeah, so like my undergraduate advisor would just be like I don't know, it still felt a little bit more, it was easier to I was I was able to rely on some level of external direction, and I suppose like I just don't have as much of that now. I need to be a bit more independent. I need to be able to venture off into like the figurative woods a little bit and be able to fend for myself a little bit more, right? Because eventually I'm going to get used to it. But right now it's just a little bit rough. I don't, and I suppose like this roughness or just this, and having these periods of just like not really doing things or just spacing out because something doesn't seem too interesting or something doesn't seem to like there doesn't seem to be an obvious direction to go. These like dead periods are making me wonder if I actually want to, well, do any of this to begin with. And I don't know, right? Like I think it's honest isn't the word, but it's admirable. I think it's admirable to cling on to like hopes and dreams that you like set for yourself as a kid, to want to go like do all these things and to achieve all these things to have, accomplish greatness, right? But I feel like it's not realistic, but also maybe like by saying that it's not realistic, I'm actually like maybe it actually is possible, and then just by saying like, oh well, it's not achievable, so I should just like settle, is actually I'm doing myself a disservice in some ways. I don't think there's like it's not black and white, and I don't think like it's all obvious for like all cases, right? It's just like one of those things to where like not so sure. At the very least, I'm having like self doubts as to like my initial foresight, I guess, on like the whole thing. But I don't really know if there's actually any point in asking questions to that degree. Of course, like maybe it would be. Uh, of course, it's important to ask questions in regards to like, will I at least be able to like find a job and like make a living afterwards? Which I guess is also a bit of a concern. I probably should be like, I guess like as the I suppose like I'm still in like the second year, but once I reach like the midway point, i.e. like a year from now, which isn't too far away, and like the 2/3 point, which is also just 2 more years from now, like I should probably I'll be able to see how successful I am or like how much I like doing this, and should be able to prepare exit strategies or like going into industry or going outside of academia or I guess realistically, if I had an option right now, if I couldn't get into academia, I'd still want to go into education of some kind. So I'd probably need to look into education and all that jazz. But it's it's strange. Like maybe like by thinking about like, oh, maybe I should just play it safe, or maybe I should just expect that I won't be able to do these things now. Like I'm actually just setting myself up for failure. I really just need to not really think about the future as much as I am now, and just focus on doing. But of course, it's easier said than done. As much as I can watch all these like Dr. K videos or like listen to all these like podcasts of like people who've made it, talking about like their path and their struggles, and thinking like, oh, okay, I could be that guy. I could be that guy. Like it's like I think like I I hear ideas, but I don't really internalize them, and I don't really think I can internalize something consciously. I don't know. Maybe there's like some really cool Jedi mind trick that like maybe there's like yeah, top 10 Jedi mind tricks. Number 5 will blow your mind, right? or something like that, but I don't really I guess I haven't figured it out yet, but it's just a matter of doing. I just have to be more consistent with things, and I have to snap out of it sometimes. I feel like once again I'm lost in decision paralysis quite a bit. Like actually, it was kind of nice to not having power and not having internet was actually a little bit nice, because it was just kind of like, oh, wake up, see if the ceiling fan turns on. Nope. All right, tough. So first thing that I think of is just, all right, gotta brush teeth, gotta get to school. So it's a little bit easier because I don't really have to. There's less time spent like thinking about things. Also, in a way, like I guess if I had actually been a bit more consistent, it wasn't just floundering. I would have like I was planning on making like a recording the week right after I did the last one, just talking about like biking slash like walking to like school is a really pleasant experience actually, because even though it takes a lot of time, like you're still making progress, like by off of doing very little, because there's like I guess you're always in some ways you're just there's very little that you have to do to like go towards the goal, and it's just walking or biking, right? You also just get to the mind is relaxed in some ways. It's not really at stress, because whereas like at home maybe it's like whenever I could be playing video games, I could be taking care of the chores, I could be still doing research a bit, I could be reading a paper, I could, be playing keyboard. There's all these like options and stuff. But whenever you're walking, it's just like, well, I'm just walking, right? Like the foresight there, I guess, is just like, I'm walking to go to work. What am I going to do once I get in the office? I don't know. We'll sit down in the chair, we'll pull the laptop out, we'll boot this thing up, and we'll think about it when we get there. But for now, all I really have to do is just walking, and that's enough, and that's pretty cool. And I guess I just wish I had more of those like opportunities to where I could do that. I mean, of course, maybe the solution is just to once again do the whole thing of creating these internal uh, regulations, right? But as of now, like I'm having a hard time doing that. I guess like any internal regulation I create is kind of like well the guy who made this, i.e. like past me, is a bum. We don't have to worry about it. Screw that guy. We'll do it whenever I want. And so that's not really great.